my details. And Steve contacted me, never expecting a return. He contacted 3 other people too who've done similar videos, and I was the only one to return his call. So we've been working together for the last 3 years, and we naturally hit it off. And Steve is apparently something called a black belt in 6 Sigma. Apparently it's a real thing. Some of you know, do you know what that is? Yeah, apparently project management. So he is the top of managing projects. His previous corporate job for almost 18 years was being responsible for over €1 billion worth of assets for General Electric across Europe. So he doesn't like risk. He does not like risk. He looks at the worst case scenario in every situation, especially in property, because you can lose money very quickly in property, can't you, if you do it wrong. So, Steve is a systems man. We're sharing with you tonight his tips on how to systemize everything you do so you don't create yourself another job. And then Jenny Fenton. Jenny, has anybody here met or heard of Jenny before? Okay, a few nods. Jenny's got 2 HMO agencies already, both in arguably one of the toughest regulated markets in the UK, which is Oxford. She has 1 student HMO business and 1 professional HMO business, and they're 2 very distinct tenant types, as many of you probably know, and you deal with them and treat them and manage them differently. So between us, as Mo said, we have quite a lot of experience between ourselves in various aspects, but overall have almost 500 tenants and growing very quickly. I'm going to be sharing with you tips that we have collectively learned and experienced for the last number of years. Okay, so there's lots of content here. Please take loads of notes tonight. I also want to answer all your questions. So I'll get through my talk, I will give you loads of tips, you're bound to have questions, and I will answer all those at the end. Is that okay? Cool, thank you. So let's get started. So, I'm sure you all know what HMOs are. I'm going to qualify exactly what they are in a second for those who might not be that sure. But I wanted to dispel a few myths, and I'll give you reasons why if that's okay. So the first myth is HMOs are not a get-rich-quick scheme. You have a legal responsibility to look after people living in your houses, whether they're your houses and you own them, or you're managing them for someone else. So it's not about get rich quick. It takes time and effort initially to set them up. But if you systemize them, they can pay you back many times over for years and years to come. It's also not a hobby business. I hear lots of people, I see lots of people cutting corners and being a slum landlord, cramming people into houses which are not adequate. Thankfully, councils across the UK now are finding and catching more and more rogue landlords. And there's some very famous people, which you probably will know in the community, in property forums, who've got very big profiles, who, you know, slightly colourful corners, not naming any names. But it's not about being a slum landlord. You have a legal, and I believe ethical responsibility to look after your customers. As Amy said, it's about communicating and dealing with your customers, your tenants, properly. And they will stay there for a long time. And it's also not really hard work if you follow our blueprint, and I'm going to give you lots of tips about how you can do that too. But here's what HMOs are, in my opinion. They're a great way to generate big profit, whether you own them yourself or you're managing them on behalf of other people on a rent-to-rent or service accommodation basis. You can make great income from this stuff if you do it right. You can also build assets. So if you're managing somebody else's property, you might be in a situation where they want to sell, and then you can actually take over or buy that at some date in the future with an option. Have you guys all heard of options to buy property in the future? Yeah, cool. So you can do that too. Again, you get great cash flow. And it's very, very simple to add great value to your properties. I'm going to share with you loads of tips and show you how one of my customers is making an extra £103,000 income a year from tweaking what she does with existing properties. Anybody here want another £103,000 income? Cool. I'm not sure if there's a capital allowance that goes against that, but you know, it's really simple to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. But this is the best thing I love about HMOs. It's a massive amount of leverage. It gives you huge financial leverage, and it gives you time leverage. You put a bit of time and effort in up front, you follow a simple system, and that can pay you back for thousands and thousands of pounds for a long time. Now, people love the interior design dressing bit, and that's very important. Buying property is relatively straightforward. But unless you systemize your business, that is the sexy bit that's going to pay you back a lot of money, and that's where your wealth is long term. I'm going to share with you lots of systems and tips and apps that we use in our day-to-day businesses, which you can use immediately and get the benefit from that. And HMOs are in high demand, and they literally are everywhere. I'm going to challenge a few assumptions of what you think HMOs are like. So, here's one of my houses. Amy and Chris might recognise this.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, so this is a 2-bedroom house in Leeds. So when I first started investing in property, when I knew what I was doing, I started buying single lets for yield. This house is a great little house. It's slightly out of focus, but this is Nora Place, number 1 Nora Place. And I got this with a JV partner, and my JV partner put in £25,000 for the deposit and the refurb and the fees. I think it cost us around £66,000, and that gives us approximately £250 net after management fees and also the mortgage. Not bad. That's an 8% return a year, which is not bad compared to what you now get in the bank. However, over 7 years, that's just under £21,000 net. Please remember the 7 years, I'll explain shortly. That's not bad, but you need lots of those to generate a significant income and live off for life. So that's why I now do this, HMOs. Who thinks this is the standard image of an HMO? Big 3-storey Victorian house? Okay, cool. I'm going to show you lots of examples of different types of HMOs. But this is a property called number 5 St Michael's Road in Bedford, and we manage this on behalf of the landlord. This is what our second rent-to-rent property. Had this now for 3 years. We have a 7-year contract, and so now comparing like with like. 7-year single-let income versus the income from this HMO. Now we put in £5,000 approximately for that property. That's paid for brand new furniture. Our ideal target tenants are young professionals. So the house is in okay nick, not too bad. It was lived in by students and completely wrecked for a couple of years, but the landlord put some money in to refurbish the property. So we spent our money on brand new furniture. This is a 7-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 2-kitchen, 2-bathroom property. It goes back miles. So what income does it make us? Just under £700 net a month. Are you disappointed? That's not the big sexy number you get in other marketing, companies, is it? You're going to get thousands of pounds of profit. But this is the true net amount that we make. I'm going to explain to you exactly why our numbers are as realistic as this and as low as this, because I want to set your expectations. You don't get £2,000 or £3,000 plus net a month from HMOs. Okay, so that gives us £700 a month. It's not bad. We made more than our money back in the first year, so I'm quite happy with that. And as I mentioned, we have a 7-year contract. That's almost 3 times the income we get from that last single-let property that I own up in Leeds. We only put £5 grand in. So who wants almost 60 grand income over 7 years from a property they don't even own? Yeah, this stuff is easy. Absolutely easy, and you can do it too. And just to challenge your, perhaps challenge your assumptions, this is a property that Julian owns. If you can see it on the screen, it's a 2-storey terraced house. These properties are everywhere. Steve and I manage a large number of these in Bedford and North Cambridge too. They are everywhere, and you can still make good money. There's 2 lots of information on the screen here. The first lot is if that was bought as a single-let property and rented out, Julian would have paid a total of £87,000, and the income from that would have been £280 net a month after management fees and after maintenance and wear and tear in the mortgage. Again, not bad, similar to my property in Leeds around the corner. But he's made a mini HMO out of this. So he hasn't added extra bedrooms, he hasn't added extra bathrooms. He just made it look pretty and rented it out to professionals by the room. It makes a massive income difference. Again, like the last property, this is a property that Julian owns outright. He's going to make £58,000 income over 7 years for that property. It doesn't matter if you want a big 3-storey Victorian house or bigger, or a small terrace house. You can make great profit with HMOs. So, let's come back to the definition. An HMO is a house occupied by 3 or more unrelated people sharing common facilities. This is the broad, generic classification across England and Wales, but the key thing is to check your local council, because every council has different regulations. And it's simple to find out what they are. Go on their website and you'll find it there. But typically that's what it is. Now the reason I mentioned that I think you've got, it's not a hobby business, HMOs, and you've got a real legal and ethical responsibility to look after your clients, is because of this fact here. It's fire safety. And someone living in a shared house is 17 times more likely to die in a fire than someone who lives in a single let property, which is horrific. And that's why the rules and regulations are in place. It's about raising the standards. So this is your responsibility to look after your customers, whether they are living in a house that you own, or indeed one you're managing for somebody else. And in England and Wales, you get up to a £20,000 fine and a custodial sentence if you breach these rules. And councils are trying to catch rogue landlords out, which is a good thing, to look after customers or tenants. So, check your local rules and do what they say. One of the biggest assets we've got is our local HMO officers in North Cambridge and in Bedford. They are sourcing us properties from rogue landlords that they are throwing out, taking away the license, and giving them to us because they know we do a good job, which is pretty cool. So get to know your local HMO officers. Don't be scared of them. Ask their advice, ask their opinion, and just do it. It's not difficult, I promise you. And actually doesn't cost you that much money too. So, bit of bedtime reading tonight. If you want to learn more, I advise you not to necessarily do this because it's pretty horrific and heavy. But the 2004 Housing Act can be Googled if you can read that yourselves. Now I set up, because I train people in HMOs, I set up a Google alert, and every single day, without fail, I get news articles about rogue landlords across the UK being caught out. Here's a recent one. This is an HMO landlord who did have a license in Birmingham, this one was, but he let it slide. He thought he'd make a few more quid. He basically made it unsafe for his tenants to live in one of his HMOs. He's been fined £24,000 for doing it wrong, for being caught out. Please don't scrimp and save to try and make a few more quid. You can do it right, you can do it ethically, you can look after your tenants and still make great profit. And you will get caught out. Does that make sense, by the way? I'd really get fed up with people who try and cram in thousands of people, because it's just wrong. You can make great money by looking after your customers. I'm going to prove to you, if you do this as well, you'll make even more profit in the long term. So, let's look at some strategies here. There are three key strategies, as I see it, if you want to invest or manage properties on an HMO basis. You can look at single-let conversions, like that terraced house that Julian had, and convert it into a mini HMO. Really straightforward. Alternatively, you might want to manage or buy service accommodation, which is short-term lets. And Arthur was talking about the capital allowances for short-term lets. You can make massive profit and save tax on that too. They're quite cool. Who's here, remind me, is interested in service accommodation? Okay, quite a few. Cool, I've got a free thing for you later. Licensed HMOs. This is our third route, and this to me is our preferred option. The reason being is they're already HMOs. They are already licensed, and therefore you spend very little time and effort converting them, because it's already been done. But all of these things work. Oh gosh. Photoshop from a few years ago, another flyer show. Different to this, but another flyer show. Do you mind if I share with you some of my experience as to why I think this hopefully will be useful talk for you? Would that be okay? Cool, thank you. So, I used to work in a corporate job. I used to work in advertising. I had a 19-year career in advertising in London. And I used to run advertising teams across Europe, Middle East and Africa. So I did lots of traveling. And it was great on paper. I got paid well for that. But the downside of that, or rather the quid pro quo from that, was that it was a massively competitive culture. One of the guys in the audience was saying, I can't believe property is so open and sharing. I had exactly the opposite to that, where it was a real dog-eat-dog business. Has everybody here had a job or has a job like that? Well, you're all lucky. I had one of those jobs. A few people do. So I worked really crazy hours, not only did I commute 3 hours a day, spend over $6 grand a year on getting to work and coming home again. I also worked between 12 and 14-hour days at my desk. And I really didn't get much more fulfillment from that. So here's what I did. I watched lots of programs with Sarah Bean on TV and thought, it's easy, I can do that too. I'll do what everyone else does. I'll invest in property. And I was very fortunate. I worked long hours, I saved up a lot, and I had £75,000 of my life savings to put into property. So I went to one of these training seminars, and it was a big, glitzy, glamorous presentation from a company selling off-plan flats that hadn't even been bought yet. Sorry, built yet. And I bought 3. One was in Leeds, I've still got it. One's in Nottingham and one's in Sheffield. I'd hardly been to some of those northern cities, and yet I trusted my cash with somebody else. Mistake number 1 in property. I bought those properties, I still have them, thank goodness they're rented out, but they're still worth less when I bought them in 2005, 2006 and 2007. Because I didn't do my research, I did not do my due diligence. I then had to go back to Zany, my wife, and went, sorry darling, I think I've just blown 75 grand and it'll be okay, I'll keep working hard. So I sort of took a bit of a confidence knock then and went back to work. Sat back at my desk, worked long hours. And on the 1st of August 2010, we had our annual summer holiday. I didn't spend much time with my kids growing up because I was literally at work 5 days a week and then very miserable at weekends and tired. So the 2-week holiday was a really good thing. And we flew off on the 1st of August 2010 to southern Turkey. And it was time to relax. I left the mobile phone at home and it was amazing. The heat in Turkey was incredible. As soon as we checked in the hotel, we've got 2 young girls, at the time they were 5 and 7. And the kids got into their swimming costumes and ran out to the pool. Zany and my wife and I followed later with towels and a few inflatables and whatever. And we sat down by the pool. And my kids are quite outgoing, they're quite friendly girls. And they were making friends and they were jumping around in the water and having a great time. And it was amazing. It was the first moment of the holiday. And yet, if you'd been with me and sat next to Zany, my wife, she had a big black sun hat on and those big sort of Jackie O style sunglasses. And although it was hot, and although it was the first moment of our holiday, you couldn't really see behind the glasses that she was crying her eyes out. Because she'd just been diagnosed with cancer. Now, she was only 38 at the time, and we immediately thought the worst. I know it's not unusual, lots of us have unfortunately friends or family who suffer or get cancer. But Zany's point of reference was her mum who died from cancer, aged 56. Her uncle on her mum's side of her family died at 48 from a brain tumour. And both her grandparents on her mum's side also died from cancer. So that's what we thought was going to happen. And it was a horrific 2-week holiday. Despite the sun and everything else, we of course had to hide it from our kids and make sure they had a great time. Because it wasn't fair to share that with them. Of course, they were far too young. They didn't get it. And everyone has turning points where you suddenly refocus back on what's important. And I had the prospect of losing Zany, my best friend, my wife, mother of my young kids, who might suffer the worst. And I decided, literally in the coming weeks after that holiday, that I had to change things. What was the point of working all the hours possible if I wasn't going to be around to see my kids grow up or indeed support my wife going through that trauma? And that was really it. So I focused on getting myself educated. I've only found this out a few months ago, but one of the best things I did was that massive mistake when I first started investing in property. Because Progressive Property bought the email database from the company that went bankrupt from selling off-plan dodgy flats. So I started getting a few emails. I don't know if you guys have got a few emails from Rob and Mark, but I started getting lots and lots of emails. By the way, I would just say that 5 years ago, in August last year, it was Zany's 5th anniversary of getting through cancer, so she got the all clear, and it's a massive relief. But that was the turning point for us. And I know everyone has something, but that was the thing for me. So I was getting spammed by Rob and Mark, invested in my education, learned how to do it myself, and I've created a portfolio for myself and focused on HMOs for the last number of years. Anybody can do this stuff. Myself and Steve met and created this business together. We did various trainings with lots of big, named companies, and realised that the theory behind owning or managing HMOs were very little relation in practice to actually doing them yourself. So we learned the theory and then started implementing it and created our own operations manuals, or rather, Steve created his own operation manual, and this is it. This is what I'm going to show you tonight. It's really simple if you follow the steps. It's 5 steps. First is, define what it is you want to do. Define your strategy. I've already talked to you about the 3 main options as I see it: service accommodation, converting single-let properties, or managing existing or buying regulated and licensed HMOs. That's your first step. Second step is sourcing properties, how to find suitable HMOs in your area. I'm going to go into the spring into action model in a second. The third step is using Julian's expertise, to, as he calls them, juge the room, so adding value to your existing properties through great design. I'm going to go through the define a differentiator model there. The fourth step is using Jenny Fenton's expertise, 2 HMO letting agencies. There's nothing she hasn't seen or done, and I'm going to share with you the customer is key model and give you some tips about how you can maximise your profit by looking after your customers. And then finally, this is the most important thing everybody needs to learn about, which is systemizing everything you do. And this is systemizing your business. I'm going to share with you our control your business model. A couple of tips on each of these areas will save you massive amounts of time, and I know will make you a huge amount of money, and I'm going to prove that to you tonight. So let's start off with S for supply. How do you find HMOs in your area, wherever you are from? I'm going to assume you've already decided the strategy. You've decided which of these 3 you want to do. But how do you know if there are enough HMOs in your area? Now, I'm glad you're sitting down, because some of this stuff is not exactly rocket science, but even though it's simple, it's amazing how few people do it. First thing is, ask local agents. Ask your estate agents. Ask your local letting agents. You've got specialists in the room. Ask them where they would invest and where they wouldn't invest in your area. Both are equally as important. Ask opinions for 3, 4, 5, whatever agents. Get their opinion. Speak to your local HMO officer. They can be your, a really good ally in your team, and you can get their details from your council website. It's really simple. Click on the website, go to housing, you'll find the contact details of your local HMO officer. Get the register of HMO landlords in your area. Every council's got to give it to you. So what better way than going directly to HMO landlords to get those contact details and sending them some correspondence? I'm going to share with you some examples of what we do later. And of course, go to meetings like this, or go to other landlord meetings. The NLA meetings are all across the country. They happen quite regularly. Go to ALA, letting agency meetings. Gather information, ask questions. That's the best way of working out if there's enough supply and demand for house shares in your area. But the best thing I love is spare room. Does everybody here use spare room? Cool. Okay, well most of you have. All right. Here's the simplest way to check out at any moment in time if there's enough supply and demand for HMOs in your area. First of all, put your postcode in for your area. Click on rooms for rent. Here's a graphic of that here. So put in rooms for rent. You can't see it on the screenshot. I have to put in the postcode below. And this is the result. 135 rooms are being listed at that moment in the search. Then you click on rooms wanted and the same postcode. This is West 1 in London. This tells us that over 1,000 people are looking for rooms. There's only 135 advertised at the moment. So it's not bad supply, and not bad bad demand. But actually, if you look at it closer, almost 4,000 people are looking for rooms. So do that in your area. It's a really nice, very simple yardstick to go on. Now, we're running regular training to help people do this right. And here's some examples of our next courses. Some people get put off by HMOs, they don't really understand it, so we do the HMO Confidence course, a one-day taster going through our model with loads of tips and information from Julian, myself, Steve and Jenny. 50 years worth of property experience. We ran one on Saturday, completely sold out in Nottingham. I was talking at a London networking event last night, and there are only, there aren't many left now after last night. But if you want to come down to London, you're more than welcome. Please make a note of the dates. Then you've got 2 more in Nottingham, Monday the 7th of November, and Saturday the 12th of November. We do have limited places, and the price is just $397 plus VAT, so please make note of that. Okay, here's Emma. I mentor Emma, and within 2 weeks of her wanting to set up an income from rent to rent, i.e. HMOs she doesn't even own, she's making £800 net a month after all costs. Who wants £800 a month from somebody else's house? You don't need many, do you? It's really simple. Emma got this within 2 weeks of starting to look, just from following the model. And you can too. Eduardo owns 2 letting agencies up in Aberdeen. He owns Man & Co and another letting agency. He is very successful. He's got a very large HMO portfolio. So why would he come on a training course all about HMOs? Because he's always looking to improve his education and learn new tips. And as Eduardo says here, we've made a great HMO system that anyone can implement and repeat. Eduardo's even asked me to go up to Scotland to do training up there with his existing landlords and other letting agencies up there, so we can spread the word. Which is quite cool. It's a great endorsement. How about David Siegler? Have you guys met or seen David Siegler? Yeah, a few of you have. He operates in Oldham. He's a very big, we were having this chat earlier, weren't we? David is a very experienced property landlord. He's got a big portfolio up there. He also does portfolio building for others. So why would he come on a training event from us? And he says, very kindly, if you're a professional landlord and want to increase your cash flow, spend some time with Jamie. I'm actually going to quantify exactly how much extra money he makes from his rooms now, having done our training course, and it is quite extraordinary. And you can do this stuff too, it's not difficult. So, back to the model, let's talk about profit. Real profit, not the pretend stuff you might hear elsewhere, not the conveniently forgotten costs. So, first of all, profit. It's obviously vital to work out the real profit in all your houses, whether you are buying HMOs or managing somebody else's. The first thing is check out sold prices on Rightmove. You guys must know how to do that. If not, have a chat with me later on. It's very simple. Again, ask local agents. Just like Sarah Binney does and Pains Under the Hammer, get 3 or 4 estate agents or letting agents over to give you an opinion about what the rents are in your local area. And of course, go on to spare room. This is really simple. In much the same way that we looked at supply and demand earlier, on the same search of the rooms wanted, this link here comes up. Most people forget this or don't see it. It says check average rents in this area. Click on that and this is live dynamic data. In this case it's West 1 in London, but it could be anywhere across the country, and it spits out by postcode, by room size, whether bills are included or not, the average monthly or weekly rent, the minimum weekly or monthly rent, or the maximum monthly rent. So you've got live data. It's a really useful snapshot. Don't rely on this, but if you want to do some research and due diligence before you make any buying decisions, or to say you're going to take over a property, this is a really, really useful tool. And what I'd also say is, bearing in mind Steve, my business partner, hates risk and tries to mitigate against, overinflated prices, always go for the smallest amount. Because if properties that you buy and convert to HMOs work on the lowest possible profit by room, then they're going to work even more if you run your property portfolio correctly. I'm going to give you some examples of that in a second. Of course, this is obvious. You've got to find out the real profit before buying, so always have a contingency. Now, we buy quite a few HMOs now, and I always put in a 15% contingency budget. We never, ever, ever go up to that number, but that makes Steve feel safe. And if Steve's safe, I know we're doing a good job. So decide your contingency and stick to it. In terms of what bills you should include, this is for you whether you want to manage somebody else's house and charge by the room, and you've got to work out what cost to include, or you're investing in your own HMOs. What we always include is council tax, Wi-Fi, the cost of the license, utilities, a cleaner, and insurance. We include all that stuff. In terms of real profits, we always include a void provision as well. Some people forget that when they're selling courses. Some people forget that on these fancy webinars. So the number, the profit number, is not a pure net number. We always put in 8% provision. So as long as we have 92% occupancy for all of our HMOs, we know we're doing a good thing. With the extra 8% that we put aside, those go into saving pots for every single property that we have. So every property, whether we're buying them ourselves or managing them for somebody else, we have 2 bank accounts. One's a current account, income comes in, expenses go out, and the other includes our savings pots. So we are bulletproof from a downturn in the market, a recession, empty rooms. We build up a really good savings pot for every single property. So actually, our portfolio is pretty protected unless every single room for the next 6 months is empty, which is not going to happen. But we've got savings pots in case it does. This is something that most people don't tell you about. In terms of utilities, who here, when you're thinking about HMOs, is worried about your tenants leaving the lights on and racking up the heating? Anyone here? Excellent, thank you for being honest. I also worry about that too. In the early days, before we knew any better, we used glide.co.uk. Glide are a great company because they aggregate, they put together utility costs, and they deal with thousands of landlords across the country. So if you go onto that website, you put in your postcode, they will email you back the next day the cost per room on a weekly basis or a monthly basis for all the different utility costs. So Steve being Steve is always improving our systems. In the first year, we worked out that we were paying 30% too much for our utilities because we used Glide, but we were learning, and we did not want to be overexposed to paying too much on utilities. So now, we always budget against Glide numbers, but we actually get local providers. So you know I said our net profit from those houses was lower than it would be elsewhere from other courses who don't tell you this stuff. The reality is we've also got a 30% saving factored into our costs too, so we're actually making 30% more. Okay, but if we do a really bad job managing our properties, which we don't, but if we did, then we've got 30% worth of costs for utilities factored in, so we know we're also safe. Does that make sense? Cool, thank you. One thing that Steve created was a deal analyzer. This tells us within literally a minute on any properties, any rent-to-rent properties, if we're going to make a profit or not. So we can go through hundreds of properties in our areas, and our students do it all across the country to determine whether they're going to make money, real money, factoring in all these costs that we talked about, including voids. And you might want to write this down. You should have benchmarks. When analysing any deal, whether it's on a rent-to-rent basis, you want to make a certain amount of profit. Or if you're buying a property and then going to add value to it, and HMO it, you might want to have a revaluation number. So, we personally take on any property in our area, which is going to give us a net 500% profit a month. Because we know we're going to make more than that. The 500 net means we are locked in and we're going to make a lot of profit. Like that property in Bedford I showed you earlier. £15,000 over 7 years for a property very good. When we come to invest in HMOs, we want to make at least £100,000 uplift in the valuation. Again, it's all about knowing your numbers and doing your due diligence right at the beginning before you make that investment decision, so you don't make mistakes. Does that make sense? Cool. Here's an example of our deal analyzer that Steve created. Now, no joke, I would love to try and get Noel Edmonds' voice to say deal or no deal, because that's exactly what it says if we put the numbers in. So this factors in all the Glide numbers in our area, it factors in all our voids, it factors in what the cost per room is, whether it's a single or a double with bills, etc. And it literally tells us within a minute if it's a deal or no deal. Okay? And I can show that with you if you want that later. Now the sexy stuff, the colourful stuff, the bit that everybody loves. Julie Marie's going to talk about refurbishments. So pretend I'm Julie for a second. Design is really, really important. And this goes back through our define or differentiated model. So look at one thing here, which is design. And this is one of Julian's favourite quotes. If you think design is expensive, you should look at the cost of bad design. So let's look at the cost of bad design. Who prefers room number 1 or room number 2? 2? How about room number 1 or room number 2? 1? Good, thank you. It's not difficult. These are all live examples in the same areas. I'm going to share with you now the cost of bad design. So this is a property in Leeds. This has not got an ensuite bathroom. It's purely a standard HMO room. Do you like that? It's good, doesn't it? I've got clients doing this across the whole of the UK. This client's getting £105 per week rent, including bills from that, which is not bad. In exactly the same postcode, this is a property with an ensuite, and it's all been refurbed. You can tell because it's magnolia walls, there's brown carpet, there's even an ensuite, and the carpet's been put down, but the chippy hasn't quite put the door back onto the ensuite. But that is a refurbed room. That's what we all do until we know better. Can you recognise rooms like that, HMOs near you like that? Everybody does this stuff. This person is getting £75 a week or £30 less per room per week than that last house in the same area. This is making £1,600 income less in the last room, and the last room does not have an ensuite. It's a little thing, a bit of colour, a bit of TLC, but it makes massive profit. Here's an example in London. This is one of our clients. This is rented out at £175 a week, including bills. In the same postcode, this is £78 per week less in the same room. That's a typical HMO room. This is a photo on spare room for this property. That's £4,000 a year less because it looks like that. So why would you do it? We have a client, as I mentioned, who has over 100 HMO rooms. She's based in Newmarket in Cambridge. We looked at her numbers. We looked at her portfolio. We worked out that she could justify an increase of £20 per room per week. And that would give her over £106,000 additional income a year. You know, this is nuts. Bit of colour, who would have thought today? But that's all it takes. Now, what does it cost? This is an example, bit of colour on a feature wall, some bedding, a blind, a lamp. It's around £287, just under £300 per room. So that's the initial investment, the extra investment, but look at the income. On a 6-bed property, increasing the rent by just £20 per week, you can get an extra £6,200 income a year from spending £1,700 once. This is per year. That's the equivalent of adding 1.5 bedrooms worth of income without adding another 1.5 bedrooms to the property. So you don't need to subdivide houses up. You don't need to put it in en suites. You don't need to cram people in to make more money. You can do it simply by using a bit of colour. And of course, not just that, but this is the first step. Does that make sense? Cool. So you get a pretty good return on investment. Now, we've just created the HMO Owner's Manual. This is over 80 pages worth of how-to guides and top tip sheets. We sell this on our website for £47. And here's an example of what they look like. All very nice. And here are some of the content areas. How to build a rent-to-rent business, how to find deals to direct a landlord. Who here wants service accommodation? Yeah, quite a few of you. Okay, we're giving away a free furnishing guide with this now. This is how to get through planning and HMO regulations, managing budget, managing fire, all that good stuff. Again, all from practical experience for the last 3 years, managing over 500 tenants. And you can buy that if you want to from our website. So, Amy talked about looking after your customers or your tenants, and I'm going to build on that now with Jenny's experience too. And finding your tenants and how to manage them. By using some of these tips here, you can find tenants and manage them and not have the same HMO problems that most other people suffer from because they don't know any better. The key is to communicate with them. It's really simple. We're going to go to the customer and key model, and we're going to do it again. So, you should contact and speak to and communicate with your tenants or your customers all the time. The reason being is you give great service, and you can address issues, if there are any issues, before they become bigger. It might be maintenance, it might be conflict in the house, whatever it may be. You can save time and make a lot more money if you nip these issues in the bud. And of course, you should always put it in writing and get back to them quickly. The reason why customers become more loyal to you is because you treat them well. So if you look after your customers well, as we do, we have typically HMOs or house shares have people who live in there for 6 months only, a standard tenancy agreement, and then they move because they're fed up and they go elsewhere. Our average customers across all of our portfolios collectively are for 18 months. Average. Not bad for house share. So again, we're locking in more profit by looking after them, and the key thing here is talking to them well. And this is why it's so important. If someone walked into a shop and paid you in a year what they're going to pay you in rent for a product, which is that on average across the UK, you're going to treat them with respect, aren't you? If someone said, I want £4,000 worth of your stuff, you're going to go, yes, of course, I'll look after you, you're a valued client. So why wouldn't you do the same with your tenants? Look after them well, and I promise you, you'll make more profit from them too, because they'll be with you longer. And this is typically the growing proportion of people in generation rent across the UK now. They either can't afford to buy their own properties, or they just don't want to. So communicate in writing all the time. Jenny doesn't like using technology like WhatsApp. She likes letters or emails. Our tenants in Bedford and Cambridge are quite happy to have WhatsApp groups to instantly communicate with us and each other. Also, we've got quite trendy sort of tenants, so we use texting and that sort of technology all the time. They even set up their own Facebook groups. And that helps them and us communicate with them. They stay longer because they think we're helping them and serving them better. You might have to prove what you've asked them to do or told them to do. So it's always worth keeping a written record of everything. You can even screen grab any text or WhatsApp messages, you know, so if you have to prove to the council that this is what you told them to do or asked them to do and they haven't done it, you've got a record of it. So that's why they'll keep it in mind. And who believes there's a rent ceiling in your area? You cannot go above the rent ceiling. Anyone believe in that? Cool, Chris does. A few people do. So here's how you increase your profit. You make sure that people are happy with staying in your houses. You give an excellent service, so there's less people moving in and out. It's really simple. It locks in your profit. But also, you've got fewer voids. It goes without question because you're looking after them, and they're staying in your houses longer. Now, this is the important bit. I want to share with you some tips from Steve, our systems man. And if you go onto the 5-step model, we're now going to go through technology. So here's the 5 steps. So we've gone through defining the strategy you want for HMOs. The second step is finding the suitable properties in your area. I've gone through some tips with Julian on how to add value through design and quantify how much profit you can make in addition from doing this well. And I've talked about how to manage tenants very quickly. A couple of tips there from Jenny. But this is the most important stuff. This is where your wealth and long-term value is. If you systemize your business, you'll make a lot more profit. I'm going to share with you one area here under control your business, which is technology. So, Steve says, you've got to simplify your business or you'll just have another job. Who likes working hard? A few of you do. Okay, well, forget this bit then because it's going to save you lots of time and effort. You don't have to work hard. But if you don't want to work hard, use technology and use apps. Talking about technology, my clicker's now not working. There we go. Can't rely on technology, do everything by pen and paper. Much easier. That's an app, yeah. That's a crash app. Thanks, Mo. Yeah, simplify your business. It will save you massive amounts of time and effort. And one of the things we talked about and some of the fears that many HMO or prospective HMO landlords have is your tenants rocking up the heating and leaving that on when they're out all day, for example, at work. So use Inspire Home Automation. It's a really cool lockable, app-controlled thermostat from a phone or a tablet. It costs about £130. I personally don't use this in the HMOs that we manage for somebody else, but all those that we actually buy and own ourselves, we put this in. So you can control the temperature in your HMOs. So if they are out all day, you can determine the temperature in your houses. It's great, it's really cool. And you can have multiple HMOs, multiple rooms on one app. Really cool, very simple. And it means you can manage without being there. Also, My Program. If you're moving people in and out of your properties, My Program is a great app which is free to use initially. And all you do is you walk around your property and you dictate into your app, phone or your tablet, the condition of the room. And you can take some photographs of the room and then you can upload that onto the cloud and that is then saved. It saves you a massive amount of time and anybody can do it. Now, if you download that, it might cost you a couple of pounds, but then your inventory check is done. There are whole companies out there who do just this. Don't worry about them, do it yourself, or get someone to do it for you with a very simple to use app. And we love these things. Quite a few of you wanted to do service accommodation, and likewise with house shares, people moving in and out quite a lot, we have keyless locks on all of our properties. The reason being is, you don't want calls, I would suggest, in the middle of the night, bank holiday weekends, from tenants who are drunk, have lost their keys, or broken their keys. This does away with keys. You can have a master key system. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Jenny. These work for exterior doors?
Yes. Yeah. There's different varieties, but you can have exterior ones and interior ones. We use these on some of our exterior houses, but there's also ones which are key press ones, physically pressing a button in. But they all do the same thing. They get rid of the need to have keys. So if you want service accommodation, then you can get people moving in and out all the time. You can control it on your app. You have up to 20 people per lock going in and out of the house, and you can track them. So your cleaner or your maintenance team can have different key codes. You can track what they're doing. You can manage them remotely. If you've got service accommodation and someone wants to go into your house and stay there one night, you can change the code after 24 hours or after a week. You are in control, which means you don't have to be there at the property checking them in and checking them out. It saves you massive amounts of time and effort. And these things are expensive over time. And this is one of Steve's favourite apps. It's called Evernote. Who here has used Evernote? Yeah, quite a few of you have. This is really cool. Now, in the bad old days, before we knew better, i.e. last year, we used to do our house inspections every week in our areas, and we have these. Sorry, just photobombing around the screen. We have our fire safety record for every HMO. And it's a paper document, and we go around every week and we check out that the fire blankets are intact and haven't been tampered with. We check that the fire exits, again, are fine and working. We check the fire doors are closing correctly and do all that stuff. And we've got to legally put it in the fire log. That happens with every single one of our HMOs. In the old days, last year, we should do that manually, then go back to the office, type it up, chuck it into a document folder. Now we use Hmos. So we get the paper records, because they've got to be in the property, and then we photograph it and upload it straight to Hmos. It's done, it's date stamped, there's a record of it in case anybody needs to check out on that. So really, really useful. And it gets rid of your manual intervention, creating a job and doing it twice. You don't need to do that with apps. And we love to see it. It saves a huge amount of time and effort. Some of those useful tips?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Now I want to share with you these dates again, because there's a lot more tips and information we can share with you on a full day with all four of us. Jenny, myself, Julian and Steve. And again, we've got these dates here, 24th of October, 7th of November. A quick look, it's just 397 plus that for a full day with all four of us. So what are you going to learn and what are you going to discover on the full day? I don't know about you, but there's lots of uncertainty in the property market now. People are talking about the property market correcting in some areas, and they're talking about the impact of Brexit hasn't really hit yet. And there's lots of uncertainty. Lending is also quite difficult, and those banks want to know more about us beforehand before they say yes to give us some cash, don't they? So the best way I can recommend that you can protect yourself and your portfolios in the future is to build up a cash war chest. So whether that be from rent to rent or making additional profit, like our client, £106,000 extra income a year from making HMO rooms look better, you put that cash aside, then you are protected against any downturn or correction in the market. Would you feel more confident if you had that behind you? Yeah, well, you can do that. Cover that on the course. You'll also discover how to get cash flowing deals under the noses of your competitors, which is a great thing to do. And also unlimited supply of property from multiple streams. So some people say, don't ever go to letting agents because they don't want to work with you because you're competing with them. No, that's not true. We've got most of our properties, 80% of our properties are from letting agents. If you work with them, if you're transparent, if they are included and financially benefit from the deals that you do to manage that property, they will give you lots of property. So work with letting agents. But we also get lots of deals direct to landlord from those HMO landlord lists and other marketing tactics we use too, because you're offering them a great service. And we teach lots of ways to get unlimited property from many sources in your local area. We'll cover that in a day. But bring your laptops and your tablets and we'll cover that. We'll also carry on giving you the real costs and give you all of our suppliers for all of our apps, all of our furniture, all of our power team, and how you can build a great power team locally too. You'll also discover the guaranteed ways to fill your rooms is not just making your rooms look good and pretty in the photographs. That's one important part. It's also about how you market and use marketing techniques and copywriting to make sure you get maximum number of viewings. And we have a viewing ratio of 1 to 1, which means when we have a room available, one person comes to view that and then rents it from us. Pretty good, because we know what we're doing from a marketing point of view. And the rooms also look good. And yet we're also, in some cases, more expensive than other competitors. So price is never an issue if you do it right. We'll also share with you, with Jenny's expertise, how to avoid the normal problems that most people get with HMO tenants, with multiple tenants or customers in your houses, because they don't know how to deal with them properly. And we cover that on the day. And of course, using Julian's interior design, we prove to you exactly how you can add thousands of pounds of property, as many of our customers across the UK are doing, as are we. You also know how to stop making the costly mistakes that few people tell you about, because in theory, as you all know very well, it's very, very different in theory to practice how to actually implement and create a successful business. And we'll share with you some of our mistakes from the early days, so you don't have to make those mistakes too. We'll save you money. And of course, we'll have all our proven systems from Steve, and you'll have unlimited access to myself, and Julian, and Jenny, and Steve. You can get all your questions asked on the day. Now I'm going to give some bonuses away because, hey, you expect this stuff, and I really would love you to have the benefit of coming on training. I'd love to help get you the results that you need, get you the profit that you need. So if you want to come on one of our courses in the next few weeks, we'll give you the HMO Good Practice Guide. This is an independent guide that's not for sale, but we'll give that to you as a bit of a bonus. It, again, is going to save you a huge amount of time and effort. We'll also give you our deal analyzer that Steve created. Now, we don't sell this, but I've already told you that we value this at least £500 because that is the profit benchmark that Steve and I personally use before we're taking on any properties. So it's easily worth that, and of course you can use it multiple times, thousands of times. It takes away all the guesswork when you're analysing deals. We'll also give you our boutique HMO design theme, which we sell on our website for £49. So total bonuses are just under £600. Here's Yoko, great friend of ours. Yoko is a single mum who lives in Peterborough. She worked night shifts. She's a 5-year-old daughter. Didn't earn a huge amount, but she had to work night shifts to make ends meet. And here's a quick word from her saying, thank you to Steve and I. We helped set up and mentor her and set up her rent-to-rent business. This is after her first 5-bed HMO was fully let. That's replaced her income alone from working night shifts. So time is important. If you want to spend more time with your family, you can do this just like Yoko's done. He's a very happy man. This is David. David's based in Leicester. A very experienced landlord, has a big HMO portfolio himself. And he says, thank you for giving us the inspiration to provide a better quality product. He's now making more profit and has tenants lasting longer because they're happy with how he deals with them. So we've got some real value from that. So if you're experienced already, you can still learn from providing excellent customer service to your tenants. And here's Tracy. Now Tracy already had 9 rent-to-rent properties before she came to us. She'd trained with a very well-known rent-to-rent training company that still had some problems because the reality is that in any area you don't know it all. So she came to our training day and she said she had a 5-bedroom property that just could not shift. But by learning some of the techniques from us, both interior design, marketing, she really offered the rooms. She's now had more people looking at those rooms, but she's also found more properties to rent to landlord. So if you're experienced, you can do this stuff too. And here's my favourite, good old David. Now David, as you know, has a very, very big HMO portfolio, and I wanted to quantify the benefit that he got from doing training with us. I think this must be a world record. He said, after training with us, his room rents in Oldham have increased from £90 per week to £130 per week. That's not bad, is it? He's got a big portfolio. He's now making huge amounts more annual profit from his rooms just by learning what we taught him on the HMO Confidence Day. And you can learn this stuff too, and we'd love to see you there. So, here are the dates again. We've got 2 venues. London, if you want to go down south, you're more than welcome. We're at the Hotel Ibis in Euston. We've only got a few places left. It's the 24th of October. But a bit close to home for you guys, an hour or so away, we've got Nottingham. 7th of November and 12th of November at a Holiday Inn. It's £397 plus VAT. We do have limited places. I'm going to give you 2 guarantees when you come on the course. The first is I promise I will not give any hype, like hopefully you realise I've not given tonight. The warts and all approach is the realistic way to set your expectations so you can get profit too, by doing it right, doing it easily for all our system. But more importantly to you probably, and it hasn't happened yet, but you might be thinking this, you can come on the day, you can keep all the course materials. If you don't learn 3 tips which will save you or make you profit, just let us know at the end of the day and you have all your money back. You have your money back, you can have all the bonuses, you can keep all the course materials, because I know this stuff works. But if you're worried about not getting value and me talking about a hype, then you get your money back at the end of the day. So you absolutely lose nothing at all by coming with us. And you've got the expertise of me, Jenny, Julian, and Steve, of course. Now, some people still have a couple of fears with regard to HMOs, and I want to address those now in case you're thinking them, because they're fair enough. The first one that we hear a lot of is people don't have too much money to start. You know that property I showed you in Bedford, which we put £5,000 in? You don't need much money to generate great income. We're making almost £60,000 income from that property over 7 years. But now we've learned there's a way of making even more money by putting less money in, and I'll share that with you on the day. So don't worry about not having much money, you can make great income. Some people worry about not finding good property. Again, bring your laptops, your tablets on the day and we'll find great HMOs in your area. We we've got all four of us who will help you. And we'll analyse deals for you too. And if you're worried on the third one about finding tenants, we will find tenants for you on the day.